Hey everybody, and welcome back to Monday with Born Again to Live. And in keeping with our born again life, we're born again for a new week.
We sure are. Is it another fun day Monday, Eric?
I hope that we are refreshed, re-energized, and born again for a fun day Monday.
Yay. I know I'm there. I'm right there with you. We're still in the story. Wait, are we on the mountaintop? No. We're with Gideon.
We got so many storylines going. We're on a mountain. We're with Gideon. We're hearing from God. We don't know what
We got all kinds of stuff going on here. That is the born again life. It all happens at the same time. It's not like it's just one thing and then, God doesn't work like that. He's everywhere all the time.
Well, it's kind of funny. Amy and I were talking about hers and I Bible reading, and yes, we do read our Bible. People don't just preach it, we do it. But she was trying to do your Bible in 1 year, and you said it's all over the place. Plus, you're trying to do the podcast reading, and I send her hey, let's do Gideon. So she's in Gideon, she's doing David, she's doing New Testament, Old Testament, and she's just so confused as to where she's at.
I really am.
And then I'm doing Pneuma, so I got my required stuff for Pneuma, my personal Bible study, and then it's podcast. So we're just spinning our wheels on which story are we on today and where are we at in the Bible. And
yeah.
our outlines help, but yeah, you hear us quote the wrong scripture because we're in the wrong book. It's okay. Just be patient.
Yeah. You can let us know in the comments.
Chris likes to use a word called grace. Please give us some grace, people.
Yeah.
We're just two normal people trying to enlighten the world with conversation.
Is that who we are?
I don't know.
That sounds great for somebody else. I don't think you were talking about us just then, Eric, but okay.
Confused people.
There you go. Let's rephrase that. We're just two confused people praying that God gives us enough grace to impact one solitary person.
That's right.
That should be our mission statement.
That's probably about right.
But now we are.
Yep, we're in Judges, right?
We're in Judges, but we're talking about Gideon. Yeah. Okay.
The book of Judges has a lot of people.
Yeah, it sure does.
We should do that one. Did I ever tell you about the one verse that Tim Timberlake did? He did one verse and preached for 45 minutes.
You did tell me. I don't remember the verse, though.
I can't remember it either. I think it's 331 or something like that. But the guy only appears in one verse in the entire Bible.
Wow.
But he preached for 45 minutes.
I mean, good on him. But now Gideon, the book of Judges is full of failure, right? When you've got these judges that pop in every so often and save Israel, it's kind of God's way of answering their just griping and their complaining. It's God's way of saying, nope, I'm still here. But it's every so often. And meanwhile, they're going into just captivity and oppression and war and just defeat after defeat. But it's not for nothing, Eric. They're not following the same God that led them out of captivity from Egypt by a cloud of, fire at night and what was it during the day? The smoke, a cloud of smoke?
Smoke by day and
fire by night. Yeah, and did all these wonders, and that same God that they, parted the Red Sea, they got into the promised land, and then it's okay, thanks God, and it's they shut the door and just went off to worship all these false gods, right?
I often think about time travel because that's what I do, I guess. I would love looking at this from the 10,000-foot view. We read Judges, and it's the ebbs and flows and ups and downs, and it always says the same phrase. And Israel was groaning.
Yeah.
And God saved them. And then it immediately goes back to the other way, and you're don't you just want to zoom in there on the time machine and go, guys, if we don't do this, we're going to be okay. But if you do this, you're going to be groaning for God again. Do you think it would have resonated with them at all for somebody to think that way?
I'm going to say no, and here's why. Because we have all the history with us right now. We have the promises. We have as the full canon of Scripture. We have everything we need to know about God and Jesus. And we still screw up too, Eric. So that's why I'm giving that an affirmative no. It doesn't matter what we know, what we are told, prophesied from long time ago coming true. We still are just so blind to God sometimes. It's infuriating to read about it, and then it's even more infuriating to know that we are part of this unfolding drama that is just the human race, Eric. I know sometimes maybe I just get more depressed.
I mean, I do. I read these whole stories of and even Kings of the ups and downs. It's Did nobody have common sense? Did nobody ever read a history book? Did anybody in this group ever say, where did we go wrong? I mean, Babylon's coming in to take over everything, and they're like, did we do okay? That guy doesn't worship God. Let's put him in charge.
Yeah.
Like, dude, what's wrong with you?
All right, so because we haven't done a bunny trail in a while, we were way too focused this past week, Eric. Okay, if you could go back into time and visit one section of the Old Testament, you only get to pick one. Where are you putting yourself?
King Solomon.
Wow, that did not take you long.
Mm-hmm.
The building of the temple, or just all the riches? What about?
I just wanted to see all of the things that was encompassed with his reign.
Huh.
And then I'd like to tell him not to marry that one that got him sidetracked.
Yeah.
Where would the world be had he not screwed up?
Well,
I mean, it was a divine plan, but still.
Yeah, I was gonna say probably right where we are right now.
Right where we're at. But King Solomon, where would yours be?
I mean, I think it's gonna have to be Jonah, but not because of the whale or the big fish, depending. It's that I want to see him going. It's Nineveh, right?
Yeah.
I want to see him going through Nineveh, which was 30 miles by 30 miles. It was a huge city for back in the day, and it was a godless city. And for him to just walk through the middle of it saying, repent or your time is done, or, and to think that entire city repented. I want to see what that looks like. I mean, did people just drop to their knees at the hearing of it? Did it happen all at once? Did they fall like dominoes, just one at a time? But I would love to see what that kind of revival looks like. Because Eric, we are just primed and ready for that kind of revival in our cities and our counties everywhere. So
Can I do a 1A?
Yeah,
the Garden of Eden. I would just love to see the garden.
How is that 1A? That's just number 2. It's just a 2.
I mean, I would just love to see it. I mean, I don't want to be there because I don't want the slithery little serpent to come get me. But at the same time, just to see the original design, of everything.
Well, okay, if I get a second one, I'm going to say I want to see the original design of the Ark, because I visited the Ark down in Kentucky, which is amazing. Have you done that yet?
No.
Okay,
that's on the list.
Gots to do it. But anyway, I think it's Answers in Genesis is the organization that did that, and then they also have the Creation Museum over there near Columbus, Ohio, I think. Okay. So those are two things kind of tied to.
Aren't they the ones that own the Bible Museum too?
I don't think so.
I thought they were tied together, but maybe not.
Okay, that's going to require further research.
That's Hobby Lobby guy.
It is. Maybe they could be associated. I just don't see a lot of the Answers in Genesis materials at their stores, and I feel like there'd be more, but. Anyway, when you go to the Ark, you can buy a multi-day ticket where you can go to the museum and the Ark. It's kind of a cool combo pass, and they're definitely both worth doing. But anyway, I would love to get back to that story and see how accurately the Ark that they decided to build in Kentucky as a replica. I want to see how closely it resembles the actual Ark. So those are my 2 traveling in time machine answers. So, okay.
Well, let's get back on to Gideon, because we're way off track. None of us wanted to meet Gideon. That's funny.
Well, because he kind of was I don't know, he wasn't a man of valor. That's, I think, the irony. I guess that angel really understood sarcasm when he says, "Oh, mighty man of valor." But no, with enough encouragement.
Hiding in a
wine press. I know.
Eating out your grain because you're scared to death.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, man of valor. Come on out of here.
But it just goes to show God sees us differently than we see ourselves. And with enough affirmation, he got Gideon to where he needed to be, that mighty man of valor. And I'm going to use you to just squash these Midianites, right? So
14 signs later, and he's.
I know, 14 signs later. So he had the thing with the angel. He had the putting out of the fleece twice, and then he was told by God, if you're still afraid, go down to the camp. And he overheard this dream being told, saying that Gideon's going to take it all. Okay? So that does give him some courage to use his only 300 men to go up against these tens of thousands of enemies.
So that puts us in Judges 7, chapter 15, right?
What?
Is that where we're at?
No, we're in Judges 7, verse 15, right?
Yeah, that's what I said, isn't it?
You said chapter, but okay, I knew what you meant. All right, yeah. Did I know what you meant? I don't know if I knew what you meant, but okay. So I think it's interesting is after he hears about this, it said the comrade answered. So when he's retelling the dream and this guy's interpreting in it, he says, there is no other than the sword of Gideon, the son of Joash, a man of Israel. God has given into his hand Midian and all the camp. So he gets this amazing confirmation. And then it says, as soon as Gideon heard the telling of the dream and its interpretation, he worshipped.
Mm-hmm.
And he returned to the camp of Israel and said, arise, for the Lord has given the host of Midian into your hand. So, there we go.
You want to keep going and read how he does it? Because it's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so then he says, he divided the 300 men into 3 companies. All right, let's do some math. Eric, how many companies?
3.
And how many in each company?
I'd be 100.
Probably. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Unless you're Gideon and he's like, I don't know, I'm going to take the most with me.
I'm hard to. Okay, so he has the 3 companies of 100 men and put trumpets into the hands of all of them. That's a lot of trumpets.
That's a lot of trumpets. So it's going to be loud.
And empty jars with torches inside the jars. And he said to them, look at me and do likewise. When I come to the outskirts of the camp, do as I do. When I blow the trumpet, I and all who are with me then blow the trumpets, also on every side of all the camp, and shout for the Lord and for Gideon.
Yours doesn't say the sword of the Lord for end of.
It says that later, actually. Okay. Yeah.
That's interesting. I've got New King James. That's why I was looking, but
we could go a little further, I guess, because it says, so Gideon and the 100 men, so he was with that first 100, came to the outskirts of the camp and beginning it with the middle watch, which is usually, the middle watch is sort of that late night watch, right?
Yeah.
So it started, do we know what time the middle watch starts? Like 3 a.m. or something?
Nah, that's the third watch. So it would be probably midnight.
Okay, so it's like midnight. Okay. They blew the trumpets and smashed the jars that were in their hands. Then the 3 companies blew the trumpets and broke the jars. They held in their left hands the torches and in their right hands the trumpets to blow. And they cried out, a sword for the Lord and for Gideon. Every man stood in his place around the camp, and all the army ran. They cried out and fled. When they blew the 300 trumpets, the Lord set every man's sword against his comrade and against all the army. And the army fled as far as Bethshittah towards Zerah and as far as the border of Abel-Momelah by Tabbath.
So I find it most funny that they didn't put a sword in their hand.
No, I know.
A jar with a candle in it.
Right.
And a trumpet.
Yeah.
And God takes out the whole army.
Isn't that wild?
Like turns the whole army on itself, makes the whole Midian army stab themselves, kill themselves, and turn on themselves.
Without a single weapon.
Without a weapon.
Isn't that how Joshua did it with Jericho?
Yeah, walked around with the trumpets and
yelling.
Nice.
Yeah, it's kind of the same way.
Kind of the same. But there's no doubt who did that battle. Like, God took them out.
Yeah.
But how much confidence do you have to go into a battle outnumbered?
Oh, my gosh.
With no weapon.
No wonder he need like 55 affirmations. Like, seriously, it is one of the craziest stories. It really is.
And I don't know. I see the point behind the torches and the smashing of the pot, though.
Yeah.
Because you got to think 300 torches are going to get kind of bright really quick. So I can see the confusion, I guess. The scared, like, oh, man, that's a huge army. And it just... Yeah, piling in with like that much light at one time, but still.
Well, and that's what the listeners need to, realize is like when they talk about jars, they didn't have like ball mason jars of glass. These were clay pots, right? Like clay water jugs, whatever. And so their torches were inside of those, so they did not give off all that light. And so these Midianites at camp are going from it being pitch black. And again, we've all either been in front of a car with a headlight on or around a campfire where when you are in somewhere bright, you cannot see what's past you. And so you've got these 300 men sneaking up in what seems like the pitch darkness. You are not expecting a darn thing. And I think, too, back in those days, it was a lot more like the David and Goliath type of a thing which I get hasn't happened yet in the story, but where the armies would kind of line up. They'd look at each other, be like, okay, we've got more than you, but you've got the chariots. And but then they would just, very formally call the war and it would begin. But
Yeah.
this is just, this is guerrilla warfare to do this sneaky nighttime thing. So,
Well, and you got that really bright light, but 300 trumpets.
oh my gosh,
So
can you
now
imagine?
it's all at once. Like, that's got to be a heck of a scene.
I can't imagine.
It'd probably been better if you had 22,000.
Maybe I do want to go back in time and see this. Like,
it'd be kind of cool to see because, I mean, that sound with that amount of light, I would be kind of terrified. Like,
well, not
no matter how many it is, that's kind of all of a sudden.
Yeah.
You're like, oh no, and you're at midnight, 2 o'clock, whatever time in the morning, coming out of your bed to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can see them turning on each other and not seeing where the other people are and stabbing each other. Yeah.
Well, and they can't, I'm sure they're in whatever their pajamas look like. So no one's in uniform. They can't tell who is enemy and who is not. So they're just cutting and slaying and sorting their way through this mass of people, killing all their comrades, as they said. I would imagine it looked like, too, like maybe one of these guys at Second Watch. I would think all those, it going from complete darkness to all these torches, it probably looked like some firefly attack from like a giant alien firefly army. Because seriously, like that torch running out you in the pitch dark 300 and then that loud noise, like that's insanity, you guys.
This was back before city lights and all that ambient light and stuff. Like, it was dark. So that with the noise, I just think it's chaos.
Absolutely.
Because when people hear this story, they're like, well, that's ridiculous. Why would they kill each other? That confusion alone would cause them to just go like stabbing wildly, is what I imagine. Like, guy coming out of his tent and see somebody run by and not know who it is and just
like, for sure.
And the rest of them that are there, like, just run away.
Well, and I think that dream was very significant. So I think God told Gideon, go down and listen to this dream. But the dream wasn't necessarily for Gideon. It was just once again giving him a little bit of courage. But the dream was then interpreted so that I'm sure it spread around camp. Did you hear that guy that had that dream? Yeah, Midian's coming to get us. Or Gideon, sorry. Midian and Gideon, why do they have to run? Like, just
the way it goes.
But yeah, so they'd already heard sort of this rumor. Gideon's coming to get us. And then when they hear that battle cry, this is why I think, because at first when I read this, it's like, for the Lord and for Gideon. Since when does God share in anyone's glory? Yeah. Like, it should just be for the God of Israel, for the Lord of David, for like whatever, but like for the Lord and for Gideon. But I think they did this twofold. Number one, to validate that dream so that the minute these guys are coming out of their sleep, they're hearing name of Gideon, they're like, oh my gosh, that's that guy that's supposed to overtake our camp. But number two, I think going all the way back to the earlier part of the story, Gideon had already kind of made a name for himself as the guy that broke down all those places of worship for the foreign gods. And so I think that was God's way and Gideon's way of just letting his army know, like, God is on my side of things. Like, God has called me to do this. And so, because that's kind of a cool, like, battle cry for the Lord and for Gideon. And then when they cried out as they were entering the camp, a sword for the Lord and for Gideon. Yeah, those men just lost their minds.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to paraphrase the end of Gideon. His story from 7 over all the way through 8. Basically, Gideon hunts down all of the Midian kings and kills them.
Yeah.
And the little tidbit funny story along the way, he comes to a town that's a Midian town, I guess, and says, hey, give me some water for my animals. And they're like, why?
Yeah.
Like, because we killed all the Midian people and we're chasing the last of them. And he goes, so you haven't got them yet? So why should we give you water? And Gideon's like, all right, we're going to come back and we're going to rip your flesh off with thorns. See ya. And does. Like,
yeah.
So just a tidbit, like, give them water. Even if it's your enemy, give them water.
At this point, he really was a man of valor, I guess. Yeah.
So he chases them all down, kills them all, gets rid of them all. And all the way down at the end of 8, it talks about how many sons he had and all that kind of stuff. 70 sons who were his own offsprings, had many wives, concubines, and all that. But for 40 years, Israel was God's.
Again. At peace.
At peace, was with God. And then as soon as Gideon died, it just went away again. So good leadership. Gideon showed what good leadership is. I mean, if they stayed with him for that long, that's pretty good, because that was better than sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's, I mean, we didn't give him enough at the end. He's got a pile of stuff that he did, and actually it turns around and he made an ephod.
Yeah.
And then they turned around and used it as an idol. So
yeah, well, it was interesting how Gideon, like, after this great campaign, they wanted to make him king, and he's like, no, the only ruler we really need is the Lord. But then he turns around, and at some point during having 70 sons, he names his son Abimelech, which means son of the king. So at some point, he clearly, like, his words are saying one thing, but his actions are definitely kind of saying another thing. He did think of himself as a king, even though this was the time before Israel had a king. But, much like every great king that starts out well-intentioned and answers God's call, whether it's Solomon or David or even in this case, Gideon, like, they lose sight of God again, don't they? And so, Gideon just kind of, towards the end of his life, he just wasn't after God and intimate with God like he had been, obviously, in the beginning. So it's a little bit of a tragic story, but it does show that, Judges really sets up the book of Kings, and it just sets up the failure of any nation that decides we're going to let anyone other than God rule us, it's a sad little tale.
And life lessons from Gideon would be, if you're called by God and you get that clear calling, don't lay out your fleece, don't do all that. I mean, go with God's call. If he called you to it, he'll call you through it. There's not a chance that he's going to let you down. He'll get you through. He can put 300 against 121,000, and you're going to come out.
Yeah.
Every time, because if God called you to it, then you're fine. So learn to hear his voice by being intimate with him, being in moments of deep prayer, and get to where you know his voice so well that there's no doubt that calls from him. So you don't have to waste time laying out your fleece or hearing other people's dreams. You got what you need from him. So hope you like this little session. Like I said, Gideon's, I love his story. It's kind of weird in some parts and good, and just one of those where, like, you hear it and you're like, that couldn't be real, but I would love to see all of that in real life.
Man, and we hear even stranger things today, Eric. Like, you can't box God in. Like, his plan, his perfect purpose, the things he calls us to do, like, we don't understand him in the time. We know Gideon didn't understand any of it either, but then he shows you his glory, and all you have to do is be obedient.
Yeah. All right, so we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.